Hello, and welcome to Nuts About Baseball, a podcast that will entertain you with discussions involving everything baseball. I'm your host, Joe Grimme, and I appreciate you joining me. Sit back, relax, and enjoy as I share my passion for the sport we call America's pastime. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Nuts About Baseball. I am your host, Joe Grimme, and I am here today with Ron Verst, the head coach at Bishop Brossart High School. Ron, thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome, Joe. Glad to be a part of this.
Yes, I appreciate it. I would love having the local coaches and players join me. We get a lot of insight, and it's fun to talk about the season that's upcoming. But let's start a little bit to talk about you. How long you been at Bishop Brossart?
Oh gosh, I started with Bishop Brossart back in 1991. I was part of their first JV teams and coached there from 91 to 90 through the 93 season. Then I left for my job, which took me out of town quite a bit, and then I came back 2001 under Coach Bob Rowe and kind of helped them in different facets, different levels, and things of that. And I've been there basically since 2001. I was on Bob's varsity teams back in 2006 and 7 and 8. Then when Coach Rowe left to become principal at Covcath, Coach Grosser took over. And then I was his varsity assistant up through the year 2011. And then Coach Grosser went on and became the principal at St. Mary's. And then I took over the varsity program in 2012 and been with them since.
That's a long time. You bring back somewhat of a bad memory when you say 1991 in Brossart, because I played at Highlands. That was my senior year, and Brossart beat us in the district tournament to keep us from getting to the regionals. So thanks for bringing back those memories.
Oh, sorry about it.
Yeah, that
Long time ago.
That was a painful game, but yeah, we had a lot of fun back in high school. So, well, that's great. So you took over in 2012, 13 seasons. I know you've got, if my research is accurate, over 200 victories, don't you?
I'll be honest with you. I'm not top positive on that, Joe. I really, I just the years go by so quick, and you make a lot of memories with the kids. I really don't focus on the wins, and I don't. It's just about the times we have with the kids and the memories we can make with them. But I've been there a while, so if that's what it is, that's what it is. I'm not really sure.
Understood. You went to Brossart, right? You graduated in 1980?
That is correct. I did.
Do you still keep in contact with any of the players that you played with on your team?
There was probably only about 4 or 5 of us that senior years, but yes, Brossart being a small community, most of those guys I still see on occasion. I won't say every, probably a couple times a year I'll run into them, but yeah, a few of them I do.
Yeah, and then you went on to play at Thomas More for a couple years, right?
I played a couple seasons over Thomas More. That is correct.
Did you have any aspirations of taking it to the next level, trying to play professionally?
No, I was never at that level. I was never at that level. I enjoyed the game and had some friends over Thomas More, excuse me, that kind of talked me into coming out for a couple of seasons. And I was glad I did. I got to play under Coach Jim Connor, the legend, and learned a lot from him.
Sure. Well, you mentioned him, but was there anybody else growing up that was kind of a baseball influence in your life?
I was one of those kids. I played 9-hole, Joe, and I was always on that team that I played with older guys and younger guys. I was always in between. So I never had a steady set of coaches for a long time. And I don't know if that's what got me to be more interested in baseball, because I coached both of my boys all the way up. And I had good coaches, but, I just seemed to have quite a number of them. And honestly, in high school, the 4 years I was at Brossart, we had 4 different varsity head coaches.
Wow. That's tough.
Yeah, so just not a lot of stability some years, that's for sure.
Right. What made you decide to get into coaching? Anyone in particular, or just an experience you had, or tell me how you got started on that?
In high school, I played at Brossart. I played at Thomas More for a couple of seasons. Like I said, I started playing Holy Name baseball. Back then, it was very good baseball. It was a lot of college players that played that league. So I played Holy Name baseball probably about 14, 15 years. But my uncle, who was coach at the time, Len Bauman, was the coach of St. Mary, and he stepped down, and it kind of fell to me and my cousin Larry, his son, and I wound up just taking over Holy Name Baseball's. I coached that. So, I mean, I was 21 at the time. So I started coaching baseball when I was 21, coached that for 10 years. And
Wow.
then I took over my son's teams when they started off. So honestly, Joe, I've been kind of coaching in the coaching ranks since, quite a few years now.
Okay. Well, like you said, you took over the varsity program in 2012, and you actually won the region that year, didn't you?
We did. That was our only that was our only school's only regional championship in baseball up to this point.
Well, that's okay because a lot of teams, a lot of programs can't say that about themselves. Tell me about that season. What do you remember the most?
It was magical. It was magical. It was just that I encountered a very talented group from Coach Matt Grosser um, coming back, and I had 4 or 5 seniors that just led the way. I had some of the seniors just off the top of my head: Zach Fardo, Trevor Beazold, Corey Kramer, Jesse Orth, Bobby Roderick, and then I had Tanner Norton, who was our catcher as a junior that year. Just phenomenal player for us. And Joe, that team just went on a series of runs and just got hot at the end of the season to where we accomplished things that honestly that we probably never had an idea we could do when we started off that year.
Yeah, that stars aligned, that's for sure. He had a great record, a lot of games too.
Absolutely.
Fast forward to the present day. You have a new complex out there. I believe it's called the Mustang Athletic Complex.
It is. It is. It's a Mustang Athletic Complex, which incorporates, our football field, our girls softball field, and our baseball field.
Yeah.
Um, but actually, the baseball field's name is the Verst Family Field.
I saw that.
Just to throw that out there.
That's great. I mean, I know the Verse name is huge in Campbell County. Was
Yeah.
there a family or in particular or an individual that really is named for, or just the Verse family overall?
My aunt kind of was spearheaded that and helped make that dream a reality. So it was my aunt's family, my aunt Betty Verst, her family kind of
Gotcha.
spearheaded a lot of that. And we had quite a few, Joe. We had quite a few of very generous donors to make this all a dream come true. So not only them, but several other and many other, I should say, people stepped up to make this a reality. We are so fortunate out here to have the community that supports our school, not only school endeavors, but athletics as well. So we're very blessed out here.
So 2025, looked at the record 15, 12, and 1. Does that sound accurate?
That is correct. Yes.
You lost to Scott in the district tournament, fell short of making the region. How did you address the team after that loss, and what did you tell the returning players as to what they should do to maybe prepare to come back for this season?
Joe, that was a tough loss. That was probably one of the toughest losses I had as a coach. We played at St. Mary's, our last game ever at St. Mary, and it was a great game. It was back and forth. We were down a couple runs going to the last inning. We scored, went ahead by a few, and we just couldn't make that last out, and they lost. And it was hard. It was a hard game to lose, and especially with all the emotions with the seniors being their last game, and that's always tough. I don't care if at some point, there's only one team that's going to finish the season winning. But that last game is always tough, especially for the seniors. And, I just told them, as far as the seniors go, just, appreciate all the hard work they put into it. And, it's not how we want it to finish, but, it'll take a few days to get over it. But I also address the younger guys, basically just saying, learn from this experience. We got good things ahead of us. We've got talent coming up. We're going to be young this year, and I told him, I said, hey, we got a new field to look forward to. It's totally different. A lot of things we're going to have to learn about the field, but all in all, just I think we've got some talent coming up. We're going to be very young this year. A lot of parts that we had to replace with our graduating seniors, but it's not something we haven't gone through before. Being a Brossart, it's sometimes you've got those valleys and peaks. And rebuilding comes quite often, and it's what we deal with here.
Yeah, and if the roster on the KHSAA website is correct, I think you lost 7 seniors.
We did, and I would say probably 5 of those 7 were everyday starters. So we got holes to fill.
Yeah, and get a little shout out to those kids that had great seasons. You lose your leading hitter at 431, Ben Volmer. He also led the team with 34 RBIs. Aiden Schultz hit 370. He was second on the team in batting average. And then Keegan Gully Also hit 382 with 23 RBIs. Your ace on the mound, Alex No, over 50 innings, 45 strikeouts, and a paltry 1.90 ERA. How could you possibly? I don't mean to, beat you down, but how in the world are you going to replace those guys? Because those are
Yeah.
phenomenal seasons.
And a lot of those guys you just mentioned were 3-year starters for us.
Yeah.
Aiden Schultz took off his junior year, but came back and had a phenomenal senior year. But those are big shoes to fill. Keegan, he's playing at Hanover right now. Alex Snow's playing at Hocking College. So those guys, a couple of those guys went on to play. But Keegan was a fantastic catcher. And our field right now, Joe's got 45 feet behind home plate. So we're going to have some guys are going to have to step up and fill those positions as best they can.
From what I can recall, that's a little different than St. Mary's.
Yeah, St. Mary's, we probably had about 10 feet behind home plate. And
Yeah.
we're so blessed to have this field that we've been practicing on and things like that. But we've got 45 feet from third base foul line to the dugout, 45 feet, first base, a lot of space.
Yeah. I'm going to make it a point to come out there and see that complex. I've heard great things about it, and I always love a good high school baseball game. Think about summer for a second. Early mornings on Lake Cumberland, the water like glass, the hum of a boat engine before the heat sets in, kids jumping into the water, fishing lines in the water, long days that turn into late nights under a sky full of stars. Or maybe it's hiking through the big South Fork and Daniel Boone National Forest, that first deep breath of cool air under the trees, dirt on your boots, the sound of the river moving through rock that's been there longer than any of us. These places aren't just scenery, they are part of who we are. Now, here's what most people don't realize. The water that runs through the Big South Fork flows into Lake Cumberland, then into the Cumberland River, and eventually north through Kentucky and all the way to the Ohio River. What happens upstream doesn't stay upstream. Now imagine 1,500 acres of landfill, second largest landfill site in the country, directly connected to that water system. Runoff, long-term risk, and once it's built, it's permanent. Cumberland Clear is a grassroots nonprofit fighting to stop this development before headwaters become a regional waste hub. If you boat, fish, hunt, or just care about clean water in this region, visit cumberlandclear.org to learn more and donate. Did you do anything in the off season differently this past year than you've done in the past, or is it just the same old, same old? Let's keep the same routine and let's come back.
No, we actually did. We did, being on the field, I kind of waited till some of the fall sports, were finishing up, but we had fall practices and we have lights on our field. We were able, and my biggest emphasis was on the size of the field, the foul territory, kind of pushing those guys to learn the field, the alleys, how the ball is going to play off turf. We've never really, St. Mary's was a good field. We did our best to make that a nice field, but it was grass. It didn't have much space. Now we're on this field. It's huge. It's a lot of foul territory. So we spent a lot of time in the fall working just to get used to the field. And we actually were on the field going up right before Christmas. We were able, because we had some nice days, and we took every opportunity we could just to be on there hitting, fielding, and just getting used to the new, the new field itself.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's a huge asset to have, and just being on the field more than you normally would be. Yeah, having a turf field is clearly an advantage, and I know more and more teams around the area are gaining that benefit, and it's great that you have that now. And like you said, being on the field more than you were before is going to be an advantage to help these kids just become better baseball players and just get the experience. But yeah, it'll take a little bit of getting used to, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So you've had tryouts. You've got your team probably locked and loaded. How does the team look like this year?
I think we'll be okay. We're not going to be world beaters, but with high school baseball, a lot of times it comes down to hitting. Can you hit? Can some of these younger guys step up that played had some varsity time last year, and can they improve? Our pitching, I think we'll hit. I don't know about the depth of our pitching right now. We've got several arms, but will that translate into reliable, serviceable pitchers? We've got a few guys that I think we're going to rely on heavily, but I just need, when you're playing 4 or 5 times a week, you get to those fourth games or whatever, then your pitching kind of, runs out a little bit. So I'm going to need some guys to step up there. But I think defensively, we're going to be okay. And I think, just the time that we had on the field last fall and the time we've had this year is able to figure out a few things with some of the players where they best fit us. And I think defensively we'll be okay. It's just like, can we hit well enough to be competitive?
Well, I know a lot of the success in these programs around here starts at a very young age. If you had any advice for parents that might be out there listening with kids that are in elementary school or maybe have an interest in getting, started in baseball, is there anything in particular that you might suggest to them as to how they can start to get their kids on the right track to maybe someday be a Mustang?
I always kind of, and I tell our players this, I said, learn more than just the one position. A lot of times in his younger grades, and, coaches seem to have a tendency to, maybe shy away from fundamentals sometimes. It's about the W's sometimes I see, and, keeping these kids in one position because that's their best position. But I always tell our guys, even when we have our camps, I said, learn different positions, learn an outfield position, learn an infield position. And granted, if you're left-handed, you're going to be limited. You're going to be, pitcher, outfielder, first base. But,
Yeah.
Learn them, at least learn them to give yourself an opportunity to get in high school because, you want to play. And so what's your best chance? Hey, coach, I can play infield. I can play outfield. Put me where you want me. I can handle it.
Yeah, that's great advice. I coached my boys growing up, and I saw a few here and there get pigeonholed into one particular position, and then they get to high school, and guess what? There's someone better than you at that
Yeah,
position, and if you have no experience somewhere else, then you're out of luck. Yeah.
absolutely.
What I've kind of started recently is ending my interviews with the local coaches and maybe some players with some fun questions. So if you're up for it, I got a few for you. Does that sound good?
Go, go right. Let's go.
Nothing vulgar. It's good fun. So the Verst family is a very big family. We all know that. If you're from Camel County or Northern Kentucky, you've heard the name and you know they're very heavily involved in the community and sports in general. So I'm going to put you on the spot. You are in a golf outing and you need 3 other Verst family members to join you. And you can either bring players to win this thing or bring players to have the most fun. What 3 family members are you going to ask to join you for your golf outing?
Well, I go on an outing with my cousins at least once a year. We get together times. So I'm going to probably get my cousins Dan and Tim, and I would probably grab my cousin Paul because he's a pretty good golfer, and so I would need somebody to carry all 3 of us. But I think those 3 would be my foursome because I think we'd have a good time, and we do all right with cousin Paul being on the team.
That's a good combination. You want to have fun, but you also want a chance to maybe place and get a little prize money, right?
Yep,
Good.
absolutely.
All right. Well, let's put you in the actual spot of hosting the golf outing. And now you're responsible for fixing the meal after the outing is over, but you need 3 family members to help you cook that meal. What 3 family members are you going to ask to prepare that meal?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm probably going to rely on my wife first of all because I, that would be hard. That would be a hard task. I'm going to get my wife and my 2 sisters,
Okay.
Kim Burns and Beth Ann Steffen. I'm going to get my 2 sisters because they know how to cook. They do well, and as well as my wife. So I'm going to keep it close to the vest on that one and get my 2 sisters and my wife to cook.
Well, good. You got to prepare a good meal because you want those players coming back for next year. All right. Last but not least, as part of that post outing celebration, you're going to have a karaoke contest. Who do you think out of the Verst family is going to win that contest?
Oh my gosh.
Any singers?
Well, okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to do. I'm going to grab my cousin Joe Kramer. I'm going to grab his wife, Shannon. Shannon sings with a local group, has a very excellent voice, So I'm going to grab Shannon Kramer,
Okay.
sing to perform. There's where I think I'd be safe doing that one. Yeah, if it's for singing, I'm going to throw Shannon Kramer on that mix. But
Okay.
I honestly, Joe, I can't remember the group she sings with. Sorry
No
about that.
problem. No problem. Well, Ron, I know you're a busy man. You're not only the head varsity baseball coach at Brossart, but you're also the athletic director, and you have a lot of things on your plate. So thank you very much for your time. I wish you the best of luck this season, and hopefully maybe you'll join me in the future to talk some more baseball.
Joe, thank you for reaching out to me for this. It's been fun. I appreciate it.